organisms that got their energy from the sun or from chemicals, okay, way back when, because they were all pretty much producers. And then eventually you have organisms that would have adaptations that would be able to get energy from eating other things rather than having to make it themselves from other processes. And that was more advantageous to them. And so that's kind of how it evolved. We're going to talk more when we learn about taxonomy unit, about the different taxa. And I think that part of the confusion that a lot of you guys might have now is because you don't understand all the taxa yet. And so we're going to go through an overview through all the different kingdoms and a lot of the major phylums. And that will give you an idea of kind of where organisms fit in terms of how they get their energy. Okay? Good questions. Anything else? Okay, so keep your notes out because you are probably going to need them for this next activity. This activity you guys are going to have pretty much today and the majority of the class period tomorrow to work on, okay? And what this is you guys are going to be given a couple choices of organisms that you are going to be working with in terms of natural selection and adaptations, okay? You are then going to basically make a cartoon rendering of your organism and how it relates to natural selection and then things like overpopulation, variation, and all that stuff. So either on the back of your note sheet or somewhere on this sheet, I'd like for you guys to write a couple notes about different types of adaptations because they don't have a lot of background, or I don't have a lot of background information on this worksheet. So the three types of adaptations that you need to know about are structural, physiological, and behavioral, okay? So we have structural, physiological, and then behavioral. Raise your hand if you can tell me what a structural adaptation might be. Structural adaptation. When you think of that term, what do you think of? Owen?
Sharper teeth.
Okay, sharper teeth. Can you say more? That's an example. Can you say more of a general definition of what that might be?
Something like physical.
Physical, good. So basically it's going to be how that organism looks from the outside, usually. You can have structural adaptations with your internal environment too, but a lot of the ones that you guys are going to be focusing on is going to be from the outside perspective. So how does that organism look? How long are its legs? How long is its neck? How sharp are its teeth, right? The second one is physiological. Any ideas on what I mean by physiological adaptation? Sam?
The way the animal thinks and stuff.
The way it thinks?
So like, what has to do with like, what you find attractive and stuff like that, like name for that too.
Not necessarily. Any other ideas? Owen?
Like how it gets better.
That could be, yeah. So that's an example. Asia?
I was thinking like metabolism, like the chemical reactions inside of it.
It's basically adaptations that occur within the body in terms of biological processes. Okay. So some examples that you might want to write down would be like a snake making venom, or tissues in a cactus plant being able to absorb water. Okay. So anatomy deals with structures in an organism. Physiology is how those structures work, okay? So we're talking, when we talk about physiological adaptations, we're usually talking about things that are happening within the body, organs, tissues of an animal or a plant or any organism for that matter, okay? And then the third is behavioral adaptations. This one probably is pretty obvious to a lot of you. This is just basically how the organism behaves, the skills that it has. Okay, so examples of behavioral adaptations could be a spider making a web in order to catch prey, or the way that an organism or species breeds, okay, or when it chooses to breed. or how it breeds, okay? Or hibernation is a behavioral adaptation. Although it can relate to physiological as well, depending on what you're looking at with hibernation. Yes, Aisha?
So a lot of marine creatures, the males like release like everything in the water. How does that not impregnate like everything? It's just like all over the place. What?
Well, it depends on the organism, right?
Okay.
So if it's like fish, for example, you would have the female that lays the eggs, and then the male like kind of shoots the sperm on top of it. If it is a marine mammal, then that's going to be completely different. So it just depends on what organism that you're talking about. Remember, in terms of what makes a species, it means that it can only reproduce with members of that same species. So if that happens and you have, let's say, a male marine organism that shoots sperm out into the water, it would only be able to, in any way, fertilize eggs that are of the same species, pretty much. That's what makes species different, okay? Let me give a couple other examples of behavioral adaptations. Migration is another one. So a lot of organisms practice migration. An organism choosing to be solitary rather than in a group or gregarious social setting. Okay, those are going to be other examples. Eli.
Wait, so what about like, can't lions and tigers produce offspring?
Not naturally, they don't.
Well,
Because they
yeah,
don't
but-
exist in the same place.
But they're like, ligers exist, right?
Yeah, because they, captivity.
Yeah.
They can, but they won't in the wild.
Remember, where are organisms located? Think about biomes, okay? Naturally, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen enough necessarily in a short period of time for species to proliferate that way.
We should start a sanctuary.
No. Okay, so go ahead now. Here's what's going to happen. You guys read through your worksheet. Read through the front of it. It gives some background information, and then it gives you the instructions. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to write your organism. For each table, I'm going to have 5 organisms that you can choose from, 5 or 6, okay? So you guys can choose from those. You're then going to fill out this table. After you fill out this table, read the instructions, and you can come up here and you can grab an adaptation cartoon, okay? For the cartoon, with the one species that you select, you are going to go through overproduction, which is the same as overpopulation, variation, competition, the outcome of the unsuccessful trade, survival of the fittest, and then finally natural selection. So you're creating kind of a cartoon related to the adaptations of your organism. Eleanor?
So this is like a group thing?
No, this is an individual thing. But I'm giving each table, so each table is going to get several of these, and you guys are going to choose. And in each one of these packets is information on the organism that you choose. Some of them actually have adaptation examples, but this will give you a good idea of kind of what the organism is, how it lives, information on its breeding, its lifestyle, all of that. So read through this before you start your cartoon, okay? And then you guys will have tomorrow to work on this as well. I'm going to put colored pencils on your tables as well, so because I would like for everything to be in color and use your creativity. Levi.
So is this due on Friday?
This is going to be due. Probably by the end of class tomorrow. I'm keeping these adaptation cartoons if you guys start on them because I don't want them to be folded up or anything and they're big sheets of paper. So you guys will have tomorrow to work on them, okay? So go ahead and start reading. Pick your animal when I have your little animal booklets at your table. Only pick from those because there was a way that I organized these and I don't want them to get mixed up in any way, okay? So you guys can choose and go ahead and start.
Oh, that's one. I want this one.
No. What did I just say?
I got chickens, baby.
All animals and organisms are interesting.
I
Polar bear.
As pet.
Oh, I thought that was scared.
You're way right. You're winning right now, 26. I know. You have to wait.
All of them have interesting adaptations.
Are you doing the cat?
Yeah, look at
That's
zero.
not what I said.
What?
That's what you interpreted.
I'm trying to keep it.
Okay, every table should now have colored pencils.
It's just a ball of fur, or it's called a living. Oh, I heard.
Oh, they're like a little nice.
Let me see the last
Huh?
Ooh, I don't know. So read through the instruction sheet and go ahead and start working.
You should get one of these as a pet. I mean, it wouldn't survive.
Are we gonna have to draw these? We have to make it colder.
Yeah, can we trace it?
Yeah,
You know what,
I'll
we're-
trace it. Accurate.
I mean, these are the departments, so you can't write on the packets, but
Are you getting how accurate the drawings are?
no.
Why are they called blackberries now?
Can I take a picture of this?
No.
You know what?
Improve animal find
It's like a baby otter. It's like melting my heart. It's hurting.
And actually, to improve animal find
Actually, I don't want it.
Well, they already have some of the
Help
adaptations.
animals find food.
Dude, you should totally get that as a pet.
Yeah, these are never written very well.
Lives.
Yeah, I know.
My live is perfect. Where is it?
I don't even know what it says. It's like,
It's, well, you know, it's so old. and it's-
Eli, where is this? Is this Europe? This Asia?
Yeah, it's
Europe and Europe.
I know, I just.
It seems like human.
Yes.
That's why I took the picture. How do you feel?
They have facial expressions.
I'm not even mean to you.
It is facial expressions.
I'm really nice sometimes.
Sometimes.
No, you're not.
I think that's
This is called comma
necessarily
blend.
an adaptation. It's a piece. There's
Well, I'm not
something
when you
that
FaceTime me at 9 o'clock p.m. when I'm sleeping.
9 o'clock. You actually.
No, I took a nap. I took a nap for
I can't believe you called me during my
necessarily a lot of
bedtime at 9
energy.
o'clock.
No, it's not what I did.
Which have.
I go to bed at 11 and I take a nap.
It's 7 o'clock
And
outside.
then they,
The sun is
they
almost
invest a lot of energy, so that's just.
I didn't know, actually, no, you called me.
Adaptation as
You
much
called
as
me. No,
it
I
is
called you because you said, it's important, but all you wanted to talk about.
If it was something where it was like, it was like,
Oh, is it
travel to pack rather than solitary.
It's like, oh,
You're
hashtag
talking
go.
about that mother, and then offspring project relationship, it's not necessarily.
Are they drug addicts? What?
What was?
Everyone got Boeing lists.
Migrate, that's not a.
It was like a
Stuff
joke
like
that we
behavioral
played on
health.
him, but no, this is legit.
That's an adaptation. Yes. Migration would be behavioral, ability to stay underwater, could be physiological, could be. What's that? Uh-huh, yes, good. Census is always great. Yep, but if it was a thing where, like, you know, with an Arctic fox or an Arctic hare, where it changes